Welcome to round 2 of the AMA Supermoto Series for 2006, which brings us to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, where a nice crowd has come to enjoy both AMA Superbike and the Supermoto Series. I'm Brian Trevor, along with David Pingree and Rebecca Staub, who'll be working the pits and award ceremonies for us. Here's a look out over the racetrack, and David Pingree, this is a road course kind of on a tilt. They've added a little bit of dirt to it, and it's custom made for Supermoto.
Yeah, it sure is. You know, they've got some elevation, some dirt, some berms, a couple jumps. No urban cross ramps at this event, but a nice track, a lot of fun to ride.
More fun than you ought to have, especially dressed up with the protective gear that the Supermoto guys are going to use to enjoy themselves here today. Let's take a look at some highlights from round 1 in Fontana, California, where they were also at California Speedway with the Superbike Series. And in race number 1, Doug Henry, number 19, got the whole shot. Jeff Ward, number 3, slotted in behind him, edging Mark Burkhardt out for second position. And the 2 leaders with Burkhardt stalking them had a lot of fun for quite a while.
It was Henry's first race back after his big injury in Colorado last year. Came out and impressed with a couple of wins, and the dirt section here in Fontana was particularly technical. It went on and off the blacktop several times, and just really made it interesting for the riders and fans.
Jeff Ward made a mistake that took him out of second position there and dropped him way back in the field. But then he was able to move up a little bit to 4th. Doug Henry took the win, however, and then in race number 2, it was Mark Burkhardt on his Yamaha that got the great start. And Doug Henry was right there, along with number 8, Kurt Nickel on the KTM.
This is a great way to start the season. You know, all the top guys right there in the front, and they had a good battle.
Well, Burkhardt was able to stretch out a little bit of a lead with Doug Henry stalking him. Ever the patient pro, Doug Henry waited, and Mark Burkhardt made a mistake, which gave Henry the lead in Moto number 2, and he would go on to win it. In second position, Kurt Nickel on the KTM. Jeff Ward, the model of consistency, running in 3rd position. At the checkered flag, however, it was Doug Henry with Ward getting by for 2nd and almost taking the win. With that, Doug Henry, 2 for 2, leads the points over Ward by 9. Kurt Nickel sitting 1 point further back in 3rd position. Defending champ Jürgen Kunzel is 4th. Let's go to Rebecca Staub and hear from the contenders from this opening round.
Hey guys, it is great to be back, and I am here with none other than Doug Henry, the man that everyone thought was going to take the championship last year until he had a really nasty injury in Colorado that took him out for the rest of the season. So he is back, starting the season strong with 2 wins, a 9-point lead. What is your mindset going into the race today?
Same as always, you know, I just want to go out there and do the best I can. And, you know, last year it worked really good for me. I was able to go out and win a lot of races. So, you know, this year I want to go out and win a bunch of races. And the only difference is I don't want to get hurt this time.
Jeff Ward, 2004 champion. You look like you were going to be the 2005 champion, and I apologize for bringing that up. How is that affecting you, your approach for this season?
No, the same. We're still competitive and fast, and we were fast yesterday in practice. So, you know, I made a mistake last year and went down and tried to be calm and just didn't get the bike started. We had a problem with it. So, but that's racing. So this year we didn't have the best first race. Henry beat us both motos again, but we had the fastest times and I had some problems. So we're looking forward to a good season and another tough year with Doug and Mark and Chris and everybody else, Kunzel, so it'll be fun.
Really, I've been spending a lot of time in California, doing a lot of training. I got a personal trainer, Scott Sharples. He's just helped me out a lot, you know, mentally and physically. And mostly, you know, I've been spending time staying at Troy's house and just riding my bike. And I think it's going to pay off. Where last year, you know, I didn't really do that, and I just stayed home and didn't ride. I rode motocross, but not Supermoto, and I think it's really paying off.
There's definitely a lot more people that can win in this class. There's at least probably 5 or 6 guys that could win, and it's going to be a dogfight. There's like 4 of us right now that are running just about the same lap times, and I want the dirt back in, so I can't wait for that. That's my main reason for getting good lap times.
Yeah, so far so good. In Fontana, my first race, it was really good. I finished on second. The second one, I stopped the engine on the second lap, and so I started. I was on the last position. I finished also on 11th position. It was the first race. We have this year 11 rounds. But here I feel really good. It's go good. I have good times. Then we see. I hope I can make a little bit of small step for the second practice, time practice, and now it's go good. Yeah.
Ping, let's take a look at the Yamaha track map here at Elkhart Lake. A nice, tight, twisty little course.
Yeah, it is. It's a relatively small dirt section. The jumps are very small. It's going to be a good course for the road racers, flat track guys. The motocross guys, maybe not quite as much of an advantage as they would have normally.
And Jeff Ward, once again, the fast qualifier, but Superpole went to Mark Burkhardt with a 104 flat over Jeff Ward by the narrowest of margins, a quarter-second difference when they went out for their Superpole qualifying. So the start should be very, very interesting here as we take a look at our Honda starting lineup. A couple of genuine dirt trackers in there. Henry Wiles, J.R. Schnabel, they're not going to feel much at home. As you mentioned, the dirt section's pretty small.
That's right. You also got Troy Herfoss, who is a dirt tracker in Australia. You got a bunch of motocross guys, obviously, in the lineup, and they're going to all go head-to-head today.
Well, let's take a look at the start here. Again, Burkhardt on Superpole next to Jeff Ward. They're up front. Chris Fillmore, Doug Henry making up the front row. And here we go into turn number 1. Wardy gets the jump on the number 3 Honda. And it's Jeff Ward, 2004 Supermoto champion and former open-wheel car racer as well.
Yeah, turn 1 and 2 there is very tight. A little kink in that straightaway, and it funnels everybody down pretty quick.
Here's the dirt section, small as it is. Jumps, as you mentioned, also quite small, but enough to get some air. And so it is Jeff Ward out in front, a man very familiar with dirt turns, a former Supercross and motocross champ as well. Pass for second position, and it's Chris Fillmore moving up into the spot.
Fillmore is a local guy. He learned how to race and even ride Supermoto on this exact track right here, so he's very comfortable here at home.
So now with Chris Fillmore up into second position, Ward putting on a clinic of how to back it in, slide it around. Very interesting on Supermoto. You have to find tires that both slip and grip. It's kind of an interesting two-edged sword.
It sure is, you know, and you go through those tires very quickly, especially the rears. You're sliding, you're accelerating. It's just a constant drag on that tire. So these guys will go through 3, 4, 5 tires in a weekend, and those things are expensive.
Good clean start, first lap underway. The green flag officially waving now. The two Graves Motorsports Yamahas of Doug Henry and Mark Burkhardt sitting second and third, sitting third and fourth rather, behind Jeff Ward and Chris Fillmore, both on Hondas.
It's a battle of the teams here. You know, Troy Lee Designs Honda versus the Graves Yamaha guys. And behind them, a couple of KTMs, Husqvarna. So definitely little team strategies going on here between these guys.
Great mix of men and machines for this series, not particularly dominated by any one brand of motorcycles. We do see Huskies, KTMs, Yamahas, Hondas. Pretty much every brand of motorcycle is out there racing in the Supermoto series.
Herfoss goes by Kurt Nickel. Kurt didn't have any practice at this event. He flew straight in from England and missed the practice session on Friday. Gia says, yeah, I don't need to practice. I'll just show up and race.
Well, he's been doing it for a long time. The boss of the KTM team can pretty much make his own decisions too, as now Chris Fillmore pressuring Jeff Ward up front, and not more than a couple of feet between the front tire of Fillmore's bike and the rear of the number 3.
Now these tight little road race courses, they don't leave you a lot of room to pass. There's one line around the course that's fast. You get off that by a foot or two and your lap times are going to drop, so it's very difficult to make a pass. You almost have to force it.
Well, and we have seen a little bit of that where riders were trying to find passing zones. The front 4 have lined up pretty much in the same order since the start. A couple of turns into this race, the order was established with Jeff Ward. Fillmore made a pass in the early stages into second position. Third and fourth are Doug Henry and Mark Burkhardt, and a somewhat distant fifth now is Kurt Nickel on the KTM number 8. Out of the dirt section, back onto the pavement again. Things spreading out ever so slightly. This course also has a tilt in it, so some of the turns are even off camber.
Yeah, it's hard to pick that up on television, but that turn right there, it's a corkscrew down, and it drops quite a bit of elevation as you come back down those turns. And then as you come across the start and up into turn 1 and 2 and 3, it's all uphill.
And those curbs right there, the yellow and black curbs, are something that you want to get close to, but not so close that they take you out. Here's our leaderboard after 3 laps. The AMA Supermoto Series is being brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters. And by Yamaha. Nobody's more in tune with motorsports than Yamaha. Well, welcome back to Elkhart Lake and Road America with the Supermoto track going on just inside the famous Canada corner of the road race track. Out in front, it is still Jeff Ward, followed by Chris Fillmore, the two Yamahas, and then a distant fifth is Troy Herfoss on the Husky. But there's Fillmore on the number 11 bike, a very talented young rider who is learning quickly from his experienced veteran teammate Jeff Ward.
You can definitely get a sense of how difficult it is to pass on this track. These guys all staying with them. I mean, you can throw a blanket over these top 4 guys, but yet none of them can really get inside of each other, make a pass. They're just kind of waiting for a mistake at this point.
Well, a mistake is what has given riders the lead in the opening round at Fontana. You know, the guys were out in front and stalking right behind. Doug Henry patiently waited. Burkhart made a mistake when he had a big lead in that second moto we saw it. So here is Doug Henry, maybe not so patiently waiting in third position, because 2 guys have to make a mistake for him to get the lead.
That's right. You know, they're doing anywhere between 15 and 20 laps, so it's a long race, and these guys know that. They're going to be patient. They're not going to push something. That's when you make a mistake yourself and crash. So they'll wait till the race starts to wind down, and if they're not where they want to be, then they'll try to force something.
It's all about studying your opponent and finding a place to stick a wheel in there, and you're probably only going to get one chance, and a repass is not likely to happen. If you make a move, you better make it stick one time and one time only, and then defend like crazy, because it's just as hard to get past as it is to make one.
That's right. Like I said, this line's real narrow around here, so you can make yourself wide. Just hug that race line, and it's pretty tough for someone to get around without coming in and swapping some paint.
Kurt Nichols showing the effects perhaps of not only a lack of practice, but a little bit of jet lag as well. He just does not seem to be able to get it together. Herfoss holding him off rather easily on that Husky number 7. So Kurt Nichols, the boss of the KTM team, and shared in the championship by Jürgen Kunzel last year. So here is Kurt Nichols, a man who a lot of the riders, no matter what they're on, look up to for his experience in Supermoto worldwide.
Well, he was a great motocross racer, you know, one of the best motocrossers ever on the GP circuit to never win a world championship. He's got the respect of a lot of these racers and a lot of the friendships, too. He's just a great guy. He actually parties just as hard as he races, so it's kind of fitting that he's wearing leather pants.
There you go. And Jeff Ward, when you talk about experience and respect, everybody knows what Jeff Ward has already accomplished during his career, and he capped that off with a 2004 Supermoto championship. Last year, looked good for the title again. A mechanical problem stalled the bike, couldn't get it started at the final at Vegas, lost the title by the narrowest of margins to Jürgen Kunzel.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker if you were a Wardy fan. You know, he had a good lead, just had a solid series all year long. Kunzel kept him honest, but that last round in Reno, they went double points. And when he stalled and couldn't get the bike started, finished way back in the pack, and it was just a point or two shy of winning, and Kunzel got it.
Well, it was agonizing watching him trying to start the bike. Eventually he got help, which of course would have been protested by the others anyway. Well, we've already chronicled that story. Let's watch Jeff Ward do what he does so very well these days. As now Doug Henry moves inside, waiting for a wide line turn there by the number 11, Chris Fillmore. Almost got a pass handed to him, but couldn't quite make it work.
There's a couple of lines in those turns. You can see the blue hard-pack groove that the guys have to stay on. But the fact is, they're both about the same. It takes you the same time to go wide as it does inside. So difficult to make a pass there as well.
Well, and the defensive line by Fillmore is letting Jeff Ward get away. You can see the gap opening up as we speak while the battle for second position, and it really is kind of a three-way battle with Burkhart stalking back there, the third of those riders. But Fillmore's the one with his hands full right now, and he makes a mistake. There's the mistake. Doug Henry has to go wide to avoid him. Burkhart moves into second, and the bike is up very quickly. And let's see, yep, he's going to lose another spot there as he tries to get these big four strokes don't start easily. This is a replay of, although much shorter, of what Ward went through last year in Reno.
That's right. You know, these guys, you can just take a look at the crash here.
Sparks first, and down he goes.
It looks like maybe he hit his foot peg on the rumble strip there. Maybe got a little too much front brake as he was coming into the corner, but the result is he's not going to finish on the podium here.
Well, we see sparks off of Doug Henry's bikes. Yes, they're dragging metal parts on the ground. Great heads-up riding by Henry. Burkhart probably they weren't even in his radar. They were so far off the track by the time Burkhart went by.
And Henry even stalled it in the background. You see him kicking, got his going pretty quick. What happened to Fillmore there, you can see on the replay, he just caught his foot peg on that rumble strip. It's got little grooves in it, so if your peg drags it too hard, it'll actually grab it and pop your back end up.
Now they had opened quite a bit of a gap on the number 7, Troy Herfoss, in 5th position, so now 4th and 5th at issue between Fillmore and Herfoss, where Fillmore was in 2nd. Not really challenging for the lead, but should a mistake have happened to Jeff Ward, Fillmore would have been in position to win this race. Now he's going to try. He's not even on the podium at this point.
No, it's got to be a disappointment to the local fans here. Fillmore's obviously a favorite, grew up near here, and he's He's definitely got the speed, but you can't make mistakes like that and still finish on the podium in this class.
Well, and he has to gather himself back up again and try not to make another one. Even a small mistake will hand 4th position to Troy Herfoss on the number 7 Husky.
It's tough when you crash as well to get up and recover and pull yourself together. You know, you saw him kicking that bike over, and your heart rate jumps up 20, 30 beats to where you're almost hyperventilating by the time you get going again. So he needs to take some deep breaths, recover, and just try to get his heart rate down and start focusing on racing again.
Challenge right there for position. Herfoss and Fillmore, the best race on the track right now. Jeff Ward out in front with a sizable lead over Doug Henry, over Mark Burkhardt, and Doug Henry, who recovered to take 3rd, or be in 3rd right now. But these guys are battling pretty hard to get into a little bit of traffic now, too, and the riders moving over with great courtesy. Down the hill one more time. Off-camber turns. Fillmore seems to have gathered himself back up a little bit. Maybe his heart rate's down to normal again. And perhaps he's feeling a little more like himself from the beginning of the race. The good news is you're never that high off the ground on a Supermoto bike, nor are you going that fast. Injury is not generally a problem. Just trying to get yourself back on the game. That's what it's all about. Jeff Ward on the number 3, Troy Lee Designs Honda, out in front, as he has been from the very beginning of this race. Fast qualifier, got the whole shot, and has not looked back. Well, if he has, he hasn't seen much here in the closing laps.
Now, Wardy's so good at just racing. You know, he went from being a multi-time motocross champion since he was a kid doing that. Then he got into car racing. He almost won the Indy 500. Here he is now in Supermoto, a champion and a constant threat to win races and titles.
He is a racer, Jeff Ward, and with 1 lap to go, all he has to do is run another good lap, error-free, and he'll be able to bring home his first win of the 2006 season. And with his consistent finishes in the opening round at Fontana, it's going to make him, once again, a contender for this championship all the way through the year.
That makes me wonder how long he'll get into this. He's got a couple of kids now who are becoming great racers themselves, Brandon and Ayrton. And before long, he's going to have to spend some time at the amateur races taking them racing.
Well, we all know how that goes. Father passes down to son, and Jeff Ward still trying to be a kid out there at his age, but yes, indeed, he'll have to pass the torch to his own children sooner or later. Giving a little bit of a wave to his crew and the crew of his opponents. Wheeling across the line, of course, the crowd loves the show that Jeff Ward puts on once he's got the race in the bag. Checkered flag for everybody. And that means that Moto 1 is over with Mark Burkhardt holding on in 2nd position. Doug Henry recovered for 3rd. Fillmore held off Herfoss. And that's the way the results look right. This nice race there, Supermoto number 1. You have to wonder what these guys are going to do to fight with Ward in the next race.
Yeah, it'll be good to see. You know, Henry obviously isn't going to be happy with a 3rd. He was in contention there until he got bumped off the track and stalled. So he's going to want to get up there and win.
Let's go to Rebecca Staub and hear from those who did.
Jeff Ward, how did you make that look so easy?
No, I wasn't, because Chris was right on me, and I knew places where I could kind of relax a little bit, and he'd close up, and then I could pull away. But I just wanted to get into a rhythm without making a mistake, because I was tight, and then I felt a little better towards halfway mark. So it was, but I think I'm always a second moto guy anyway. So.
Well, you're still giving these young guys a run for their money. Congratulations.
Right, thanks.
Okay, Mark Burkhardt, here you are again. You are a glutton for consistency. You always find your way on the podium. How did that feel out there?
Good. I think I kind of used the wrong tire choice. I went too soft of a tire, and it about halfway through a race, it was just gone. It was my fault for choosing that tire, and my tires worked awesome earlier, so I just made a mistake. And I don't know, I didn't get too good of a start, and Jeff and Chris and Doug definitely got a way better start than I did. And I just kind of followed them around. I figured something would happen. I didn't know if Doug would get around Fillmore and then kind of push him out, and I could go around too. But Graves Yamaha, Dunlop tires, Thor gear, Scott, everybody put this together. It's awesome.
So, Doug Henry, you're making up for lost time. You know, we missed you most of the season last year, but here you are back up on the podium where we're used to seeing you. Why don't you tell us what happened down there with you and Chris Fillmore? What went down?
Well, we were running real tight the whole race. You know, he was running really good, and you know, I tried to like get in there and stick my nose in there and just try to, you know, get up on him and try to force him into a mistake. But you know, he was going really well, and I think the mistake was just all, you know, kind of on his own. I think he caught his frame on the or foot peg or something on the rumble strips, and you know, once that happens, the bike just gets real light and you lose all the traction. And he just went down, and you know, I was trying to avoid him, and he was like flipping and falling, and I was like, oh no, I think I'm gonna hit him, and I just tried to like preload on the bike to try to lighten it up, so I didn't hurt him too bad. And I guess he got up and got going again, so I guess he's okay.
And we're going to get going again on the other side of the commercial break with highlights from the support classes here at Road America. AMA Supermoto Series continues. All along the AMA Supermoto Series, the lights class serves as an undercard, a support class for up-and-comers. Let's hear from some of them.
Well, my strategy is I want to win the championship. Troy Lee's putting 100% up for me. I owe it all to them. They've been more than helpful. The bike's awesome, unbelievably fast. Pro Circuit gave us a great motor, and I'm just trying to train as hard as I can on the off weeks, and come here and try and win every race. I'm off to a good start. I won the first one, and I feel like I'm getting faster every time I'm on the bike. So it should be a good season.
Down from the 450 class, so we got some good competition there, and Burkhart's an awesome rider. It was good to ride with him last year, and it's also I get to ride with him a lot this year, and he's really helping me out, him and Doug, and they're moving me along, and practice has been going well. Times are looking good, so we hope to be on the front row and in contention for a win today.
Watch right off the start here as Cassidy Anderson almost takes out Brandon Curry there. Lifts his front wheel off the ground, but other than that, it was a pretty clean start. Take a look, center of the screen, David Pingree. You saw this from the back, didn't you?
Yeah, I was right there behind him in the second row. I kind of had to chop the throttle and wobble a little bit as Curry came over on me.
Yeah, my broadcast partner, David Pingree, running back and forth from the track to the booth. Out there racing here, the leaders were out in front. Anderson and Curry out front, Tebow, and then watch the 92 Casey Yarrow, Leo Bagnus on the 17, the 40 Danny Casey, and Pingree on the 101. These guys were having lots of fun, weren't you?
Oh, it's a ball. I did a couple races last year, really enjoyed it, and decided that I'd come out and do a bunch of the lights class rounds this year. And, it's really important to be on that front row. All your practice and qualifying is timed, and you're staggered on that start by your qualifying time. So, unfortunately, this round I qualified 5th or 6th, and I wasn't in the front row. It made it a lot more difficult.
Well, it also makes it difficult when you're back there eating dirt, even on a short dirt section. But good battles all over the track in the Supermoto Lights division. In 4th position, it was a real spirited bunch going after it here. Yeah, Casey Yarrow and Leo Bagnus, one of the pioneers of Supermoto in the United States, going after it. Bagnus on the 17, Pingree on the 101. Back up to the front here, though, and your leader, Cassidy Anderson, getting a little bit of a challenge from Brandon Curry, but 1st, 2nd, and 3rd pretty much gone from the rest.
That's what happens when those guys, they start on the front. If you don't jump out right with them, Cassidy Anderson's a guy who's actually podiumed in the 450 class before, so he knows how to do this. He's a veteran. He just dropped down to the lights class because he got a ride with the Troy Lee Honda team, and he's making the most of it.
Whoa, Ping, what's going on there, pal?
Oh, that is what you call blowing it. I came into this turn, tried to do something. I was getting frustrated. Hit a little tar strip there that you can't quite see, but just lost the front end, and it was the end of my day.
So David Pingree down and out after a good battle going for the top 5. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say you're better suited for the broadcast booth because I can't do that for sure.
Well, it's a good time. That's all I'm doing it for.
Hey, fun is fun. There's another small mistake. 2 dabs. That's going to be points off and almost a lost position. But somehow Cassidy Anderson managed to fight back and hang on to the lead over Brandon Curry. That was some good racing up front as they start to get into a little bit of traffic. Whoa, and over the top. Well, that turn bit more than a few guys, didn't it?
Yeah, it's a tricky turn. You're coming downhill. It's a little off camber right there, and you can see him get a little front wheel chatter and then just knife it in.
So over the top went Brandon Curry. That left Cassidy Anderson with a much easier job of trying to win this one, and that's exactly what he did. The number 15, Cassidy Anderson from Provo, Utah, taking a look back off his Honda CRF 250, his Troy Lee Designs bike that he runs in the lights class, along with teammates Jeff Ward and Phil Moore in the big bikes. Here we go. Pingree, you're still fighting, buddy.
Yeah, I passed that guy back for 9th and just went a little wide in that turn after I passed him. He got me back, so
Danny Casey takes David Pingree, and he'll be able to put that little figurative trophy up on his mantelpiece and brag about it for years to come. Let's take a look at results from AMA Supermoto Lights. Down the list of ways, my broadcast partner David Pingree and Cassidy Anderson earning his win here at Elkhart Lake.
I was having to ride pretty defensive out there, and I think it was maybe slowing me up a bit, but it felt really good. Before the race, we agreed to use a certain tire, and Yamaha must think my bike's too fast or something because they went ahead and used the tire we weren't allowed to ride with. So it feels really good to beat them with the worst tire. So
in a couple of weeks, we're going to your home state of Utah. What do you have in store for them?
Yeah, I've been putting some major laps down out there, so I'm ready. I'm ready for a battle there, that's for sure.
Hey, well, congratulations. Great to see you up here.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Supermoto Unlimited, a chance for some of the riders in the other classes to participate in a second race for the weekend. And here we have another local favorite, Ben Carlson, who runs out of Mitch Hansen's HMC operation.
Yeah, for sure. I got a lot of laps on here, and so it's always like a mental thing if you got a lot of time on the track. Plus, always got your family or friends, so it's always a big boost. But on the other hand, it's a lot of pressure to do real well because everyone's kind of expecting a lot of you. So it's kind of a both. I'm really excited and really looking forward to the race, and hopefully I can do well.
Shortly after the start, Ben Carlson taking the lead on the number 45 Team Red Bull HMC machine. And to the cheers of the local crowd, he was leading David Baffalou, the Frenchman, on the Husqvarna in second position. These big bikes are a handful out there on this tight, twisty course. The number 1 is Mickey Diamond, who won the championship in Reno last year by the narrowest of margins.
Well, it's tough for a local guy to handle that kind of pressure. He's got his family and friends, everybody, wanting him to do well, telling him it's his home track, he can win. It's a lot of pressure to hold off.
Diamond going after it there with the number 17, Bagnus. Again, a guy that's been around Supermoto racing pretty much since it started here in the United States, Leo Bagnus. So battling for position, back up front again, and down goes our leader, Ben Carlson, who hands the lead to David Baffalou and also loses second position to Diamond as he went by on the number 1. Take another look.
You get in the end of that turn there, and it gets real gravelly. You can't really see it. There's a bunch of pea gravel in that soil, and if you try to turn where it's flat, you're going to crash.
Bagnus and Justin Ross on the 319 KTM battling for 4th position here. Bagnus getting the best of it for the time being. He would not finish there, however. A mistake by the number 17 took him down to the bottom of the order, but a good battle going on nevertheless. Also of note in this race, number 721, Steve Hatch, great off-roader, GNCC Hare & Hounds rider, trying his hand at Supermoto. And the win, however, goes to David Baffalou, the Frenchman, by the narrowest of margins over veteran Mickey Diamond, a former motocross champion. Ben Carlson recovered to finish 3rd. Nice race in the AMA Supermoto Unlimited class.
Yeah, I like the track. I'm very happy because it's the first victory this year, and we have.
Now we have another race coming up here at Road America, race number 2, the AMA Supermoto Series from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin after this. Supermoto race number 2 from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. They'll line up and do it all over again the same way. Number 19, Doug Henry, closest to the camera, gets a good launch. But once again, it is Jeff Ward on the number 3 Honda out in front. He's going to make life tough for these guys every chance he gets. What a great starter he is.
Well, he's a racer, like we said. His reaction time is unreal, and it always has been. And it's like he was just born to race something.
And right behind him, once again, his young teammate, number 11, Chris Fillmore. Fillmore on the number 11 machine, chasing Jeff Ward. Ward showing him how it's done. Very different line through the dirt turn there. Wardy using the berm, Fillmore tight on the inside. Number 1 there, Jürgen Kunzel, the defending champion, much better start this time. He is actually up there in contention right now. There's 19, Doug Henry, just in front of Kunzel. Fillmore kind of holding up Doug Henry just a little bit, and of course that's letting Jeff Ward get away. You reckon these guys have worked it out before the start?
Well, you know what? They've been over the first race, what happened, what they need to improve on, where the other guys were quicker. They looked at lap times. So, they're ready for this race. They know what they need to do, each of them specifically, and they're going to work on it.
Looking at the number 6, Mark Burkhardt, who's running the entire season in the Supermoto class this year after dominating, for the most part, in the lights division. Number 19, Doug Henry, his more experienced teammate, you might say, although both of these guys are very, very fast. Henry more of a calculated Jeff Ward-type rider, and like Chris Fillmore, a young teammate. There goes Fillmore, made a big mistake way around the outside, trying to recover. Doug Henry got by him, and so did Jürgen Kunzel on the number 1 bike. Big mistake by Fillmore.
Yeah, Henry's a tough competitor, though. It's tough to keep him behind you, whether you're on your A game or not.
Jeff Ward way out in front. Now that Doug Henry has gotten around into second position. Let's see if he's able to close the gap on the flying number 3 Honda out there. Doug Henry trying to put some good laps together, make some time while holding the others behind him.
Now, Dougie's the one guy that can close that gap. You know, he can pull some speed out of somewhere and make it happen. He's probably one of the few guys out there that can turn in quicker lap times than Wardy.
Big, tough, raw-boned athlete who was injured last year, and you heard him say at the top of the show he's going to try to do everything the same except get hurt. Good plan.
Yeah, he's been real close to this title a couple of
times. And he just made some, he's got a problem. Number 19, Doug Henry, has got some kind of a problem with the motorcycle. He would not just run off the track. And look, here he is, creeping into the picture right now. There's definitely something going on.
Yeah, he's got some type of problem. You can see him, he looked down and just went straight off the track there. I don't know if he's got a problem with his brakes. Hard to tell at this point.
In any case, the number 19 Yamaha Graves Motorsports machine is letting him down somehow. He just does not seem to be able to get any drive out of it. Now he's reaching over full. Maybe it's a throttle problem. He can't seem to get something working over there under his right hand, and it's not the brakes because the bike won't go. Let's take another look here. Watch his right hand as he comes around here, David. Tell me what's going on.
Well, he's kind of blipping the throttle and looking down, so if I had to guess, I would say it's something on that throttle. Hard to say what at this point.
Watching the number, that's the original mistake where he ran off into the track. Now they're definitely working on it. That's Chuck Graves himself reaching in for a pocket, looking for a tool. There isn't one in there.
Yeah, you can see those guys kind of freaking out. Henry's starting to panic. You know, guys are going by and going by. The mechanics are now running back into the Red Baron team. They're trying to get a tool. So whatever it is, it's probably a simple fix. They just don't have the tool to fix it.
Well, Doug Henry just dying 1,000 deaths there as he cannot get the bike going. The guys are working, and it must be something so simple. They probably need a screwdriver. You know, it's just as simple as that. Here comes something that they're using. They're definitely trying to, it looks as though the whole throttle housing is trying to turn on the handlebar or something, and they've just tightened it up.
Hard to imagine they'd leave that loose, but sometimes it happens.
Well, you know, mechanical devices seem to have personalities of their own sometimes, and even when you do tighten up everything, they find a way to get loose. Here is Jeff Ward with one of his principal rivals, and as you said, David, one of the guys able to put together the lap that could have run him down, but not Doug Henry's day today.
You know, it seems like Doug's kind of snake bit here in the Supermoto Series. He's had 2 seasons now where he looks like he's the favorite. Last year, he had the points under control. He was the quickest guy week in and week out. Had a big crash in Colorado. Ended up hurting his shoulder, puncturing a lung. I mean, he did a lot of damage to himself.
More Supermoto Race 2 coming up after this. Turns out we had a little drama at the start and involved the number 6 Mark Burkhardt, who's getting the meatball flag. David?
Well, the meatball flag's what you get thrown at if you jump the start or have some type of penalty. You'll have to pull in sometime during the race. There's no specific lap you have to do it in, but you've got to pull in. They do a little stop where you basically are just losing a bunch of time, and then you can get back to racing.
Well, we didn't think that Burkhardt got all that great a start. As it turns out, what he did was ease up a little bit during the start and then pull the clutch back in, which caused him to be behind a lot of guys once the race did actually get started. Right now, he's running behind the number 8 Kurt Nickel on the racetrack. Take another look at what happened. Watch right next to the screen here, right closest to you.
Well, once they get you set in your grid, if you creep whatsoever, it's a penalty. You can see clearly there he went 6-8 inches, you know, before they all jumped.
And Beth, the AMA official there, throwing her hand up in the air, indicating a start infraction. And it took him a lap or two to get Mark Burkhardt back in to serve his stop and go. Now he's out there racing, but not where he would like to be. He's even worse off. That's what you call adding insult to injury. You injure yourself by getting a lousy start. They insult you by making you come in for a stop and go.
You see Henry tucking in behind his teammate there. He's a lap down. He's just going to try to get in with these guys and pass as many of the lappers as they can so that he can unlap himself and earn as many points as possible.
Well, Doug Henry's fighting his way to the front after a mechanical problem, and it is confirmed that the throttle housing was actually spinning on the handlebar. So when he was twisted on the throttle, all it was doing was rotating itself around the handlebar and not making the bike go anywhere. But here is Mark Burkhardt. So both of the Graves Motorsports Yamaha guys not having the best day here at Elkhart, race number 2.
They sure are. It's a tough one for them. The guys who are is the Troy Lee Honda team. Cassidy Anderson won the lights division. Wardy won the first main event. Here he is in the second final out front, and looks like he's got it under control.
Well, the only one annoying him just a little bit is Jürgen Kunzel, the Supermoto champion on the number 1 KTM. Ward has got him pretty well under control, but a small mistake would allow Kunzel to get right back into it. Maybe a second, maybe 2 seconds between them at this point.
You know, our stat sheet has Jurgen Kunzel from Cato, Wisconsin, but with that accent, I don't know. I'm used to Ashton Kutcher sounding like he's from Wisconsin, not that.
They do have accents in Wisconsin, but his is a little thick. I think perhaps Jurgen Kunzel has not dropped all of his Austrian accent just yet.
Maybe that's just a mailing address.
A mailing address indeed. Well, there's quite a few of those because we're seeing Kurt Nickel from Temecula, California. I don't think he was born there either.
No, he's the Billy Idol of Supermoto racing. That's what I like to think of him as. So,
well, these guys all have second homes here in the United States when they're racing here in the AMA Supermoto Series. Chris Fillmore is, however, a local product from nearby Michigan, and as you said, has learned to race here at Elkhart Lake Supermoto track.
This is a good battle here between these guys. You know, Kurt is one of the toughest competitors. You pass him, and he'll just run into you, try to break something on you. So these guys, Fillmore in particular here, he's got to be careful about where he makes a pass, and he's got to make it stick and get away from it.
Chris Fillmore on the number 11 bike, one of the youngsters as they're throwing hay bales out onto the track. That'll change somebody's line. The real kind of, you know, a lot of veterans. And Jeff Ward, we've already chronicled him, and we're talking about guys like Kurt Nickel, Jurgen Kunzel. These are riders who are more on the back end of their careers than the front, but then you have youngsters like Fillmore out there really making it exciting racing against these veterans.
Well, the guys that got started in Supermoto and got the sport sort of jump-started are Doug Henry, Jeff Ward, Mickey Diamond, these old motocrossers, old racers that came in, were looking for some, you know, avenue of racing to do that was a little more safe than motocross. So they've gotten it started. Now you've got a young group of kids coming up. These are two of them right here, Troy Herfoss and Chris Fillmore, who are young. They're just doing Supermoto. They're focusing on it, and they're excelling as well. So within the next few years, it'll be interesting to watch these guys sort of come up and overtake guys like Kurt Nickel, Jeff Ward, Doug Henry, and there's also another group of kids coming up out of the lights class. So it's going to continue to just produce young riders.
Well, it's a little like dirt track in that the veterans really do have an advantage in experience. You know, the speed and the enthusiasm and the youth and the ability to bounce off the ground and all of that is still worth something, but really age and experience, age and treachery, if you want to call it that, is still prevailing here in this relatively new sport of Supermoto. But young specialists like Chris Fillmore and like Troy Herfoss are coming up here, making it very, very exciting and making names for themselves alongside those who have already done it, like Jeff Ward.
That's right. You know, got guys like Cassidy Anderson, who he's done some time in the 450 class. Now he's dropping back down, going to kind of hone his skills in the lights division. Looks like he's going to win that title. And he'll move back up, I would say, next year, and he will be a contender immediately for this championship.
So Fillmore and Herfoss dragging foot pegs, making some sparks here, and certainly making a name for themselves and a little bit of noise in this relatively new sport of Supermoto.
When you can see Kurt there trying to get around a lapper, she was in the main line. That's Michelle DeSalvo, the only female that actually made the final today, which is a huge feat in itself. But she was in the main line, didn't see Kurt coming. He had to kind of pinch inside of her. He was shaking his head a little bit. It's a good thing she is a girl, because Kurt would have probably went over and punched her.
Oh, come on now. No fisticuffs. Marquis de Queensberry rules do not apply in motocross or Supermoto or any form of motorcycle racing. But yes, indeed, Nickel lost a spot to Fillmore, managed to hold off number 7, Troy Herfoss. But now that KTM is split in between the two youngsters.
We've got the veteran here sandwiched between a couple of aggressive rookies.
Here's another look at the incident.
You see Kurt had to chop the throttle. She was kind of cutting in a little too tight, and there she looks back. It wasn't her fault. She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time.
But it cost him a little bit of the drive across start-finish line there and the loss of one position, as we mentioned. So now Kurt Nickel on the number 8 KTM has to go back to work against Fillmore on the 11 and Herfoss on the number 7 machine.
Oh, man, Kurt Nickel coming inside of you. I don't know. I would not want to be Chris Fillmore right now.
Ramming speed. It's always ramming speed with Kurt Nickel on the number 8 KTM. We'll be back to finish up race number 2 here at Elkhart. Jeff Ward is your leader. Jurgen Kunzel is second. The AMA Supermoto Series has been brought to you by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, personal watercraft, and scooters. And by Yamaha. Nobody is more in tune with motorsports than Yamaha. Supermoto race number 2 here at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin's Road America Briggs & Stratton course. We've got some great action going on here as Kurt Nickel barely holding off Herfoss, who has gotten around. Burkhart in the number 6 machine is there, and these guys are really battling. Passing? Yeah, nobody told them it was hard to pass. Look at these position changes going on.
Well, Herfoss is trying to make something happen. You see him try to just do something with Kurt there. He actually loses a spot to Burkhardt. So that's what I was talking about here, where you get out of the main line, you get off the race line and try to make something happen. You'll end up losing time, losing a position here, as he did to Burkhardt.
Mark Burkhardt, Doug Henry, of course, who had mechanical problems earlier in the race, is fighting his way back up, though, has actually gone a lap down to the leaders. Burkhardt is running in 5th position. Number 399, Alex McKellia from Arizona, moves over on his KTM to let these guys, these lead lap riders, continue on with their battle.
And they got a battle going here. It's tough to come through lappers. These guys are still racing for position back in the field. They don't want to get out of the race line either, so these guys have to force their way by. You see Kurt and Burkhardt both squeezed by that guy there, but it's costing Kurt time, and so Burkhardt's all over it.
Well, you've made the point that when you try to make something happen, yeah, you might make something bad happen for yourself. So these guys are waiting for someone else to make a mistake or trying to force one, but you can't force it too hard. And Nickel there on the number 8 machine, just barely holding off Burkhardt, is trying everything he can to get around him.
You can see Kurt just kind of hugs the inside around the dirt turns. Burkhardt's swinging wide, flying around the berms, but at the end of the section there, exactly the same. So very tough to make up time.
There goes another brave move down the inside by Burkhardt. Almost had that one bite him. That downhill turn, the curve comes back to meet you pretty quickly. Sparks are still flying here. Jeff Ward having not nearly as much fun out in front as these guys are battling for positions just off the podium.
You see when they turn and get those sparks flying up, that's from the titanium foot pegs that are just scraping the blacktop.
Oh, great drive by Burkhardt. Compared to Nickel, the number 8 machine looks like it's tied to the fence, and Burkhardt is able to make a pass after on the white flag lap. Now we go back to the leader now, Jeff Ward, who's just been putting on a show all by himself, demonstrating how this is done, and no one has really challenged him in a while now. Kurt Nickel was there for a bit, but Wardy's already celebrating. And gets the checkered flag here at Elkhart. That makes 2 wins for Jeff Ward to number 3. And with the misfortune to points leader Doug Henry, it's going to be points lead for Jeff Ward as well.
Troy Lee Mechanics getting a little camera time there.
Yeah, guys down in front. And there is Jeff Ward congratulating second place Jürgen Kunzel. Chris Fillmore, his teammate, holding on for 3rd. And we saw the battle that Mark Burkhardt eventually prevailed to take 4th. Page 2 tells the rest of the story. Doug Henry up to 15th position, picked up a few points. Michelle DeSalvo rounding out the top 20. Let's go to Rebecca Stahl.
And Jeff Ward again and again and again. You are starting out this season as the man to beat.
Well, I don't know. Doug started out better than I did at California, and I got 2 up on him this time. So hopefully I've been training real hard. I felt good. Kunzel pushed me. He didn't ride really the first moto but 2 laps, so I knew he was fresh. So I had to kind of just hang on there for a little bit and then try to pour it on in the end. So it's a good day.
Congratulations, Jürgen. What does it feel like just to really work at what you do so well?
Yeah, I have really a bad luck in the first race. I have some technical problems and I cannot finish the race, and I lost really a lot of points. But I go now only out, have fun and give my best. And sure, my mechanics and my team, he works really good, give me a really good bike. And yeah, I go as fast as I can, but it was good for me.
Chris Fillmore, you are riding at speed on par with 2 of the champions. You're right here on the podium with 2 champions. Is that foreshadowing that you could be next?
I'd like to think so. I really put a lot into it this year. A lot of time and just put a lot into it. I took off school just to ride, and as you can see, it definitely paid off. So it's really good, and I'm happy.
Not as happy, perhaps, as teammate Jeff Ward, who leads by 15 points in the championship over Doug Henry, who's still 5 markers ahead of Kurt Nickel. Burkhardt, Herfoss, and Fillmore in 6th position here. But a great second weekend of racing at Elkhart Lake, and this Supermoto Championship is going to go all the way to the end.
Yeah, and it's still wide open. Henry's not that far back. There's a lot of rounds left to go, and I know he's a fighter and a champion as well. He's going to get back up there and contend for this.
And some of these youngsters are going to continue to make a name for themselves. Not quite that way, we hope. For David Pingree.